They left you for dead, but the joke's on them now, isn't it? They buried you under silence, under betrayal, under the weight of lies they whispered when your back was turned. You weren't supposed to survive. You were supposed to break, crack, collapse. You were supposed to drown in the storm, choke on the pain, and vanish without a sound. They thought you were weak, disposable. Just another soul they could play with and throw away when the game no longer entertained them. But you didn't just survive. Oh no, you did more than that. You evolved. You became something unrecognizable to the very monsters who made you. The ashes they left behind reformed into something they can no longer manipulate. You burned down every part of yourself that made you vulnerable. And what emerged was terrifying, because it wasn't you anymore. It was the version they tried to destroy. They never expected the silence to grow teeth. They never expected the quiet one to fight back, not with fists, but with fire in the eyes and ice in the heart. That's what happens when you bleed and no one comes. That's what happens when your pain is treated like a performance. You learn to turn your breakdown into a breakthrough. You learn that tears don't buy loyalty, that begging doesn't keep anyone, that love isn't enough when you're dealing with users, abusers, liars, and manipulators. See, people like that, they never count on your evolution. They expect you to stay broken, because your brokenness served them. Your silence protected their ego. Your loyalty gave them power. But when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing, apologizing, forgiving for the 100th time, you become dangerous. Not because you attack, but because you rise. You rise without them. You rise without validation. You rise with your scars showing, your past screaming behind you, and your purpose louder than ever. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. Because damn right, you did. Pain changes people. And that change isn't weakness, it's transformation. Survival wasn't the end goal, it was the prerequisite. What came after that is your revenge. And no, not the petty kind. Your revenge is your success. Your revenge is your silence. Your revenge is the fact that they can no longer affect you. You don't flinch anymore when you hear their name. You don't shrink when you walk in the room. You don't question your worth based on who left or who stayed. Because you learned the hard way that your value isn't up for negotiation. It's not determined by who accepts you. It's anchored in what you overcame. Let me say this loud. You weren't supposed to survive, but you did more than that. You reconstructed yourself from pain. You became unrecognizable, unstoppable, unforgivable in the best way possible. And now the very people who tried to destroy you, they can't even look you in the eyes. They see something they weren't ready for. Strength that terrifies, energy that exposes, and a presence that demands respect without asking for it. You see, people love to mourn a version of you that no longer exists. They'll miss the one who tolerated everything, the one who gave second, third, fourth chances, the one who bit their tongue to keep the peace. But peace was never mutual, was it? Number peace was your punishment. While they stayed comfortable, you stayed conflicted, and you finally had enough. So now they get silence. Now they get absence. Now they get the version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't return. Because survival gave birth to something they couldn't kill. Awareness. You became aware of who they are, of what they're capable of what you truly deserve. That awareness turned your heart cold, not numb, but sharp. You no longer react because you finally see the pattern. You've memorized the lies. You see through the performance. And they hate that. They hate that their tricks don't work anymore. They hate that their control slipped, that you broke the leash, that you burned the bridge. And now they're haunted by what they couldn't destroy. Let them choke on the silence. Let them spiral wondering why you changed. Let them taste the consequences of underestimating someone who had nothing left to lose. Because when you're at rock bottom, the fear disappears. There's nothing they can take that hasn't already been stolen. You've already bled. You've already suffered. And that suffering became your blueprint for power. You didn't just crawl out of hell. You brought back souvenirs. You learned the language of betrayal. You learned the rhythm of manipulation. And now you recognize it everywhere. You no longer confuse potential with loyalty. You no longer excuse red flags as love. You see clearly. That's your superpower now. That's your armor. You were forged in silence, hardened in solitude. While they laughed, you were rebuilding. While they mocked, you were sharpening your mind. And now you're not just alive, you're legendary. They'll tell stories about your resilience. They'll lie and say they were there for you. They'll pretend they helped build what they tried to bury. But you'll know the truth. And that truth will keep you grounded, focused, hungry. Let the pain be your fuel. Let the scars be your reminder. Let the silence scream your name louder than any apology ever could. Because now you've tasted freedom. Emotional freedom, mental freedom. The kind that doesn't beg, the kind that doesn't tolerate less, the kind that walks away with its head high, not because it's proud, but because it's done explaining. You're not broken, you're redesigned. You're not bitter, you're alert. You're not alone. You're chosen by the pain, by the fire, by the chaos that forced you to become what you are now. And if they can't handle it, let them drown in their confusion. Let them obsess over your glow-up. Let them study your silence like scripture, searching for the version of you they destroyed. But that version is dead, and in its place stands someone who isn't here to play nice. You're here to own your power, to speak without trembling, to walk into rooms like you belong, because you do, to love yourself loudly, even if it makes them uncomfortable, to exist without apology. And that is the real threat. You weren't supposed to survive, but now you're a reminder of everything they failed to break. You are walking revenge. You are poetic justice. You are the end of their narrative and the beginning of your own. So don't apologize for how cold you've become. Don't feel guilty for the armor you wear. Because when love was war, kindness was your weakness. But now your strength is your silence, and your silence is sacred. You didn't just win. You rose. You didn't just heal. You transformed. And if that bothers them, tell them the Joker sent you. Tell them the joke's on them. Because pain tried to break you, but you made it your masterpiece. And oh, what a masterpiece it is. It's not pretty, it's not polished, it's not dressed in soft words or bright colors. Number, it's brutal, it's raw, it's honest, it's stitched together with rage, loneliness, betrayal, and the screams you never let out. You walk with the weight of every "I'm fine" you ever whispered when your soul was collapsing. And now, that weight doesn't drag you down. It makes you dangerous. Because you carry your past like a weapon, not a wound. You stopped hiding your scars. You turned them into your signature. And they hate that. Because your pain was supposed to silence you, but instead, it turned up the volume. They were counting on your destruction to be your finale, but it became your origin story. Now look at you. Unapologetically bold, unrecognizably strong. You've walked through fire, and now you burn brighter than anything they've ever seen. You don't beg anymore. You don't ask for closure. You don't need anyone to validate what you know deep in your bones. You survived the worst parts of yourself, and nothing they do can compare to the war you fought within. You were your own battlefield. You were your own rescue. You were your own resurrection. That's why they can't figure you out anymore. You're unpredictable. You used to be an open book. Now you're a locked vault. Once they knew how to hurt you. Now they can't even reach you. And that distance, that silence, that unshakable stillness in your soul, that's what scares them the most. Because silence is power. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you're planning. And they can't weaponize your emotions anymore because you don't hand them over like gifts wrapped in vulnerability. You learned the hard way. You trusted snakes. You comforted demons. You stayed loyal to people who were only loyal to their needs. And still, somehow, you thought it was your fault when they walked away. But not anymore. Now you understand. Walking away was the favor. Leaving you was the trigger. Abandoning you was the switch. Because it forced you to sit with yourself, to face your darkness, to break and rebuild in silence. They didn't break you. They revealed you. They revealed your capacity to adapt, your ability to love through pain, your strength to stay silent in the face of betrayal. They thought they left you broken, but they left you awake. You stopped expecting apologies. You stopped chasing explanations. You stopped clinging to people who only loved you when you were easy to manipulate. Now, you're complicated. You're intense. You're a storm they can't forecast. You smile less, but when you do, it's real. You speak less, but when you do, it cuts. You give less, but when you do, it's sacred. Because your energy is no longer cheap. Your time is no longer available to those who only wanted access to your weakness. You are no longer a soft place for the wrong people to land. You are not the same person they once knew. That version of you died when they betrayed you. And from that grave rose the you they never saw coming. The cold one, the quiet one, the calculated one. You used to be afraid of being alone. Now solitude is your sanctuary. It's where you recharge. It's where you listen to the silence and find the truth buried beneath the noise. It's where you remind yourself that you didn't just survive people, you survived the version of yourself that let those people stay. You've outgrown them, outpaced them, outlasted the versions of them that only existed to drain you. And now, they're watching from the sidelines, confused, bitter, maybe even pretending they still know you. But they don't. They know the you who needed them, not the you who doesn't even flinch at their name anymore. They knew the version that questioned their worth, not the one who commands it. They knew the soul that gave too much, not the one that now gives nothing to those who gave you less than nothing when you were breaking. And what's more poetic than that? They created the very monster that now haunts their conscience. They shaped the ice in your heart with their absence. They carved the sharpness in your voice with their betrayal. They gifted you the darkness, and now they cry about the shadow you've become. So let them talk. Let them gossip. Let them write your name in their regret. Because every lie they told, every wound they opened, every moment they thought they won, was just a brick in the foundation of your rise. You don't need revenge. You are the revenge. Your existence, your glow-up, your refusal to play small anymore. That's the revenge. And guess what? You still haven't shown them your final form. You're still rising. You're still evolving. You're still peeling back layers of pain and turning them into armor. This isn't a comeback. It's an ascension. And those who counted you out, they're already losing sleep. They already feel it. That unsettling truth creeping in like a storm at midnight. You survived, and now you're untouchable. You survived the gaslighting. You survived the mind games. You survived being made to feel crazy, unworthy, too much, not enough, all in the same breath. You survived isolation. You survived the nights you questioned your worth, your purpose, your very reason for breathing. You survived the inner war, the outer chaos, the spiritual exhaustion. And now that you're standing, now that you're not hiding, now that your silence is louder than their noise, they don't know what to do with you, because people fear what they can't control. And you can't be tamed anymore. You're not the same person. You're not even in the same world. You've stepped into your villain era, not the evil kind, but the liberated kind. The kind that doesn't shrink anymore. The kind that doesn't negotiate with disrespect. The kind that walks away mid-conversation because energy is expensive and they can't afford yours anymore. You're not chasing peace. You are the storm. So let the past stay pressed. Let the ghosts whisper. Let the liars rewrite history. It doesn't matter, because you've already won. You weren't supposed to survive, but you did more than that. You turned survival into supremacy. And now, they can either evolve or watch from a distance while you become everything they swore you'd never be. Unbreakable, unbothered, unstoppable. Now tell me, was it survival? Or was it your destiny all along?